How are you all today? Welcome to a Sunday good morning walk. Like I say, unfortunately, it's just the case that for the past two Saturdays, last week, well, the week before, 2 weeks ago, I was in Galway, so I wasn't able to do a live stream, unfortunately. And then yesterday, I was in Manchester. I was doing part of my presidential duties. So yes, I was presenting the MYTAs yesterday, or at least helping, should we say, showing myself off as part of the MYTAs, as part of my presidential duties. So that's why we weren't live streaming yesterday either, but we are, of course, live today. So as always, hopefully it's not going to rain. I don't know if you can see the clouds in that direction versus in this direction, but hopefully it is not going to rain. We have had, Dave W, good morning to you. We have had a lot, and I mean a lot of flooding in and around this area, so I'm still not 100% sure how walkable the area is, so we're about to see probably a lot of flooding. Loki's children, good morning to you. Shane, good morning to you. Good morning to everyone else in chat as well. Like I say, please do remember to hit the like and of course the share button. Share it on your social media options of choice, even of course if that is still Twitter. Simon M, good morning to you. Mike, good morning to you. But yeah, so let's see how much the water has gone down here. Because honestly, a couple of weeks ago when we had all that rain, this entire area was completely underwater. So the ground is going to be absolutely soaked, so you're going to be hearing a lot of squelching, at least beneath my feet. Look at children, you're hearing that Parliament is being prorogued. Is it? Well, Parliament is being prorogued, and is that true, and why? I haven't heard anything about that. That's news to me. But no, that will be interesting to see if it is being prorogued. I don't understand why they would do it unless they're trying to buy more time because they're worried about the budgets. But we'll see. Ben Ridings, good morning to you. And do forgive me if I'm not looking at the screen, because it looks like it's going to be one of those mornings where I have to make sure I keep my footing. So I do apologise if I miss any messages or anything like that. It's just one of those mornings, unfortunately. But we shall soldier on. Ever forward. And of course, I think we can't not talk about that Rishi Sunak having to face 2 more potential by-elections. I mean, come on. There really has to be, I think, a point where they honestly just go enough is enough and just go into a general election. I really do think that just might be the case. I really do. Because there is no way they know that they can win. Christopher, good morning to you. Good morning from Canada. Your system is down. Sunak is PM, so it'd always be 50-50 if Parliament is prorogued. Yeah, it just... yeah, the hits just keep on coming. Exactly. It's honestly, what do you do? I mean, I always, when I look at, Conservative Home, it's always interesting reading the comments, because those are people who are probably like Conservative Party members. And I'll tell you now, the vast amount of comments about articles on there are all mostly negative. And I think I mentioned it in my Sunak dilemma video, which we'll talk about as well this morning. The morale in the parliamentary party is at an all-time low. And it's not just the parliamentary party, it's the non-parliamentary party as well. Oh, hang on. Got your ponies for this morning. Yet the whole country wants a general election. Exactly. Oh, gotta be careful of it, of the water. Oh, steady on, boys. Steady on. Squelch, squelch, squelch. But it's just such a, he's in such a dilemma. And losing those two by-elections has caused the exact same type of panic that I was hoping for when we had the tri-election. Regan Leak, good morning to you. Oh yes, please do remember to click on the like and share button as well while you're here as well. Hang on, I do apologise. I'm pointing the camera in the direct sunset, sunrise, shall we say, not sunset. So I do apologise. That's the worst thing about walking in this field when it's like this. There's the amount of mud. Ben Ridings, welcome to the Pony Club. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. But it's just so bizarre that they get to this stage and you have all this stuff going on, and yet you have to wonder, you really do have to wonder, at what point do they just go, let's just go for a general election? Because remember, Rishi Sunak was brought in explicitly to be the guy who could steady the ship. Like, this was the guy who was going to steady the ship. He was going to solve all the party's problems, and he was going to restore the Conservative Party fortunes. That's what he was brought in to do. And he's had a year, and that's what he has failed to do. Veronica, good morning to you. You're joining a bit late. Well, don't worry. We've still got plenty of good morning walk to enjoy this morning. But it is very, very a muddy and wet morning. Of course, we're probably about to come up to some flooding, so we'll see if we can get past it or not. But it'll be easy. Past news, good morning to you. Oh dear. But you have to wonder if there is, or when will the sense of the Conservative Party just be, what, let's just go, let's just get it over with. Because I cannot see them thinking that if you've had a year of Rishi Sunak, crossing his fingers and saying, please, everything just turn out okay. Please, everything just, go all right. then you know that it's going to be a bit of a problem, that it's going to be a colossal mess. And I don't think that the British public is going to be fair to the Conservative Party at the next election. I think they're going to be really harsh on them and say, you should have gone for an election, 6 months ago. I think there is going to be a lot of that. Because I still think they are going, or I am increasingly now thinking, they are going to go until the last possible date, which essentially means a general election in January 2025. I really do increasingly think that, because they're going to want to hold on, I think now, for as long as possible and try and pray for some sort of, well, economic miracle, but it's not like they're doing anything to try and affect that. And then you've got, or at least a narrowing in the polls. The polls are continually trending in the opposite direction for them. Pretty Bird, greetings, good morning to you. Good morning to everyone else in the chat as well. So the situation is not getting better for them. It's actively getting worse. And we have seen more and more Conservative Party MPs say, yeah, I'm not going to stand again. Hanging on to simply fill the pockets. Yep, exactly. Chili the Coder, good morning to you. So, this is one of those things of where, honestly, if they think staying longer, or at least hanging on in there, is going to be a good idea, it's really not. Oh, hang on, let's just show you the state of the river. It's still, to be honest, pretty full. Still, to be honest, pretty full. But at least we've had some relief when it comes to rain. That easterly rain. Oh, Theresa Coffey. I mean, I'm sorry, but she is an absolute gift to Labour. Her absolute continuing fail qualities just an absolute gift. They really are. I mean, imagine, I don't know if you saw, I think it was it Sky News, who were going around to some of the flooding areas, and you had Theresa Coffey, and I think it was the local MP, and these people are just like absolutely, they've had the house flooded, they've had all that damage done to them, and yet there's Theresa Coffey, not even looking them in the face, just going, oh well, we didn't expect this. And bear in mind, this is yet another case. Here we are, yep. We're gonna have to go around even more, but I'll show you why in a moment. This is yet another case of Tory infrastructure spending, or should we say lack of Tory infrastructure spending, not coming through, and them being blamed for it. So just so you can see, we can normally walk through there. Just so you can see how bad the flooding was round here. The river came up that we just saw just a few moments ago, came up that much. It actually overspilled onto this field, and is still collected into here because this is a bit of a dip, as you've seen before. Yeah, it's going to take a while for this to drain away, but that means we're going to have a little bit of an adventure. Oh, can we even get that way? That is a fantastic question. No, we're going to have to go back and retrace our steps a bit to go round. To be fair, not been looking in the face to read coffee, I'd actually appreciate. And it's not even November. Time for a good morning swim. Yep. Shall we send a search party once you went to the triangle? Possibly. Well, who knows? We'll see if we actually get that far, because to be honest, I think that's going to be an adventure. I mean, here's the thing, I'm not even sure, and we'll see when we get to it, if the other field, because that was also equally as badly hit. So I'm not even sure whether we'll be able to get to the other side of the field, because last time I saw that other field, it was completely under the river, shall we say. So we'll see what happens when we get there. It's an adventure. This is why you come to these streams. For politics and an adventure. That's what it's all about. Past news, the flood defences were working perfectly. It's just that the water is coming over the top. Yeah. Yeah. Flood defences were working perfectly. And of course, that easterly rain, that easterly rain that we just were not expecting. I'm sorry, but what an excuse that will go down in the history of essentially failures of like political sayings. I think Have I Got News had an absolute field day on that. Draconic Dritz, good morning to you. Good morning, farmer listener. I'm just pulling down to the shops in your submarine. Rimmer scorning Lister's plan for a sheep farm in Fiji. Bring a paddleboard, maybe. Sean Hiff, yeah, it's live streams, excuse the pun. Indeed, it is, a lot of live streams. I thought it was only coastal areas that were going to end up underwater. Probably not, although we are quite high up on topography here in Barnsley. It's rained so much in Angus that we're starting to grow fins. Well, yeah, I understand that Scotland got particularly hard hit. I had a friend who, after all that heavy rain, had to get to from Edinburgh to from Aberdeen down to Edinburgh, and what would normally be about roughly like a 3-hour journey was about 5 hours, because he had to take all these detours to essentially stay on the high ground, just so that at least he could continue on his journey. But yeah, no, I know the flooding was particularly bad up in Scotland. Where do Labour even begin to sort out this mess? Good question. Good question. That is a very good question, to be honest. Where do you even begin? And honestly, it just starts with getting Labour in and just seeing what mess they have made and where they can start to clean it up. So It's bad. It's really, really bad. But one of the things Labour can do, as we've said, is decrease funding to a lot of these departments. Cathology, good morning to you. Be careful or you'll get in the Innsmouth look. Yes. Call of Cthulhu reference there. It really is one of those things where I just think Labour honestly really need to sort out, make sure that the areas of the government are properly funded, and then make sure that some of these areas become properly staffed. Because if you don't have enough staff, then that also hinders some of these problems. And we've talked recently about expanding HMRC. There's a couple of other, to be honest, departments that are chronically understaffed. The asylum system, the Home Office understaffed, the British court system chronically understaffed. There's so many things and areas where the government can actually provide a lot of employment opportunities. So that would be quite good if they could, sort that out. But I think the first thing is they've got to get into office and they've got to find out what mess they've been left behind, because I can guarantee you, like the first couple of months in office from a lot of the Labour ministers are going to come out and find out, oh yeah, the Conservatives did this, which has led to this, and now we've got to sort out this problem. It would not surprise me if for the first 6 months they are, shall we say, just pulling back the curtain and just finding mess after mess after mess that they've got to sort out. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, I do agree. Where do Labour start? Where do they start? It's a really hard question. It's a really hard question. Because even if I were Keir Starmer, even I wouldn't know, I think, where to start. Oh. Where are we? Mick. So moving asylum seekers from hotel onto council books and rehousing them back into the very same hotels at taxpayers' expense. Well, they're only having to do that because the asylum system can't function, because they've chronically cut the numbers of people down trying to deal with asylum applications. So as a result, when you get a big backlog, which we have had, it can't handle it. So you're handling cases that still need to be held and still dealt with. And of course, Afghanistan, big crisis. We still have not dealt with some of those people who were part of and helped the British Army when we were out there. There's a big crisis at the moment brewing in Pakistan, because a lot of the people who couldn't get to Kabul airport, they dashed straight towards Pakistan in the hope that they could get a flight from there. However, because of the lack of funding, the lack of staff, they had to get a temporary visa to go into Pakistan, but those temporary visas now are up. So there's a big crisis brewing in Pakistan, because the Pakistani government has said that they're going to deport those people back to Afghanistan, straight into the hands of the Taliban. And it is on the British government if anything bad happens to those people, because they have failed in their duty and responsibility and in their promises to help out those people. It is an absolutely national shame that we have allowed that to happen. But more of that about Geoscope probably on Tuesday. This is, I'll tell you what, I hate the new YouTube layout for live streamings because it's really difficult to see your comments now because there's no background to them. So I can't read them if they're like that, but I have to like point them down so I can read them. Are they doing a Portugal and wrecking everything on the way out? Possibly, I think so, wouldn't surprise me. The free market libertarians will scream in terror at the thought of HMRC, police and courts, NHS being run with at least adequate staffing levels. Exactly. And HMRC, I maintain this. Increasing the staff at HMRC and creating a treasury department of, like they have in America, of like having treasury agents that are specifically to deal with people who dodge taxes, and specifically saying them go after all the high profile people who don't, pay the taxes. That would certainly cause a panic amongst the Tories, I can tell you that now. But that would be an incredibly good idea. I think it's been talked about before, but it hasn't been done. But it would be a good idea to actually do. Get the tower up and running. Yeah. My friend has very nice work masters, and Rotherham has hotels. I bet he will lose the funding. Well, here's the thing: a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these hotels jumped at the chance to have these government contracts because they were suffering heavily from the pandemic. So many of these hotels, when these contracts came up, jumped at the opportunity to do it. And they love having these asylum seekers because it's been able for them to keep these hotels open on many occasions, where if these contracts hadn't come up, you would see a lot of hotels closing down because of this. I suppose accidentally the Tories did a very good thing. But there you go. Oh yes, the other thing, I don't know if you've seen, there's been a local council, I think down in, was it Cornwall? I want to say Cornwall. Grits. The idea of staffing HMRC with a task force is the only way that I can see Labour financing its wider social gains. Got to make sure it's targeted appropriately rather than on the small fry, but that's where the money is. It is, and this is why you want more staff in HMRC, because then they can go after these larger cases. I mean, what was it, the JCB case that went through recently, I believe it was, and they settled out of court. That case had been dragging on for a number of years. And one of the things Labour should do is, if you haven't paid your tax and you want to go to court against the government, if you lose or you settle, you have to pay the government's costs. That would be a fantastic law to see, because that would deter a lot of rich people dodging their taxes. Because one of the things that they do is, if they're dodging taxes, they take the government to court in the hope that at least maybe they can settle for a better price, or that they can just run through the government through enough that they eventually just give up. Because these people have the money in order to be able to do that. But that's the amount of money that we're talking about, and that's why there should be a Treasury Department to go after these big cases, and empowered with new powers so that they can do that. Okay, we'll see if we can get through here, because this will be interesting. Obviously coming up to a little bridge. I don't know if you can see the... Oh no, you can't. Oh. Yeah. So, as you can see, we can actually cross, but we'll see what it's like when we get to the other side. Because I have very, very, to be honest, limited expectations when we get through to the other side. Okay, we'll cross. Let's see if we can get over. At least I'll show you where some of the flooding was. Like I say, all this is gone down, but as you can see here, all of this was underwater. It was that deep, and as you can see here, the river is still a bit full. So we've just got to hope that there's no more further rainfall, or at least heavy rainfall. But I think we're continually expecting more and more rain. Like I say, you may remember, normally when we come here, we can walk straight through here. Obviously, a bit of a problem today. And I'm wondering, to be honest, if we can even scramble up the hill, if it's going to be that... it's going to be that wet, unfortunately. Let's see if we can... Like I say, I do have my wellies on. We should be able to wade through it. Ooh. That's one successfully. Now, can we get through here? Oh. Hey. Of course, this is where you find out you've got a hole in your way. Luckily, I don't, but always good to make sure you do that for a test. But no, it's is there a wetsuit equivalent of Bull Hat Man? I don't know. You know, if I lived by the coast, maybe that's what we would do. Oh, this might be quite a difficult scramble, I think, this morning. I think the chances of getting up here might be quite slim. We'll see. Yes, I did hear that this morning as well. Chandler from Friends, the actor who played him, died. We've just got news of that this morning. Yeah, that's very sad. Right. Oh, this might be quite difficult. Oh, this might be quite difficult indeed. We did it. Hooray. Oh. As you can see up here, this is the canal. This was all overflowing. As you can see, it's still overflowing a bit there. It was also overflowing down here as well, so I'm surprised, to be honest, we even got up here. And of course, all that area over there in the background was also underwater. So, to be honest, any more heavy flooding, and I think this area is going to flood pretty easily. Yeah, it's just the wrong kind of rain. Yeah, it's that wrong kind of easterly rain. And here's the thing, I've already done a video about this, about Rishi Sunak's dilemma. Because there's already talk, again, of a cabinet reshuffle. Even though we've technically already sort of had a cabinet reshuffle. Because this is what tends to happen. If there's ever a big problem, or anything like that, and every single government around the world does this. If there's a problem, or anything like that, in any of these areas, there's a cabinet reshuffle. You know, you throw out the bad people, and you put someone else in who can get the job done. FY, good morning to you. Good morning to everyone else as well, by the way. Like I say, please do forgive me if I miss your message or chat or anything like that. It's a very, very muddy morning this morning. So if I do miss your chat or anything like that, I do apologise. But please do remember to click on the like and share button as well. Like I say, that helps get more people in and join us on this incredibly muddy path this morning. Oh, but I think it's going to be like this now, to be honest, for the rest of winter. We're not going to get a dry path, at least for a while. Oh, Catho G, thank you very much. Me super chat, 1 second, there we go. Catho G, thank you very much. Any idea when the Truss IEA budget is announced? I don't know yet. I think they're going to time it probably with the release of the actual budget. So we haven't had that date yet. But what I think they'll do is they'll either release it the day before, maybe they'll release it on the afternoon when when Hunt's released it, or they'll release it the day after. There's a lot of people saying that they might even release it the week before, because I really do suspect that the budget is going to be a really tough battle for Rishi Sunak to actually fight. I really do think that it's going to be a difficult battle for him to fight, because here's the thing, no one in the Tory party likes Jeremy Hunt. None of them like him. So I have to wonder if Jeremy Hunt might get sacrificed in favour of another of these crazy market fundamentalists. And I don't think, well, heaven help us if Liz Truss gets her way and she becomes Chancellor. Don't underestimate that, because that could happen. Remember, Rishi Sunak is in an incredibly weak position. As we said, if you're going to do a cabinet reshuffle, then get rid of the people who are failing. Get rid of Theresa Coffey. Get rid of Suella Braverman. Put someone in who's at least halfway competent, but he can't. Why? Because he is such a weak Prime Minister, and, as we said many, many times before, Sunak owes the fact that he didn't have to fight a election because of Suella Braverman, because she rallied the right wing of the party to his side, and she got rewarded with the Home Office position. That's why she is there. So if she goes, Sunak will lose a lot of support. So the chances of Suella Braverman being replaced are incredibly slim, but if this was any other competent leader, competent prime minister, you know, she should have gone a long time ago. Hang on, let's read some chat while we're here. That way. Farage to replace Rishi, so crazy it could happen. Well, you'd have to stand in the Conservative Party. That's the first things first. Not now, who knows, but maybe in the future, but at least not anytime soon, at least, and probably not Prime Minister. Halloween Fool's Day. V for Vendetta policy, yep. Yeah, ties in nice with the whole Vampire Streets. Yep. Oh, Barnsley Triangle happening. Oh, hopefully not. Could start happening pretty quickly if 30 Tories vote against the budget. Yeah, it could. It could happen very quickly. Alma, good morning to you. And good morning to everyone else who's watching as well. Yeah, the Tory government is a bit like the band that keeps on touring even though they hate each other. Yeah, that's exactly it, Nicholas. That's exactly it. They all hate each other. They all hate Sunak. They all hate everyone else. And to be honest, it's just a matter of when do they call it quits, you know? When do we have that infamous rooftop concert and then call it quits? After. Oop, there we go. But that is I think the $15 million question. Are they going to hang on to the last possible moment? I'm increasingly thinking that they'll do so. But that means, as people have pointed out, we'll just have a completely zombie government for the next year. A government that will just do absolutely nothing. And to be honest, if I was Labour, I'd just make hay of that fact. Just can point out that they are doing absolutely nothing. We're probably going to enter into another, cost of living crisis, another heating crisis, probably during this winter as well. What are they going to do about that? Probably nothing. There we go. So, yeah, I'd be making hay if I were to be honest, but at the same time, it does have increasingly, lower dividends. The more you call for one, the worse it's going to be. But Rishi Sunak's probably got 2 more by-elections to fight soon, which he's probably going to lose again. That's not very good. The other thing that's happening as well, not a lot of people are reporting about, is the amount of council by-election seats that the Tories are losing. They are losing those local council seat elections hand over fist constantly. And yet no one in the media is talking about that because, well, these seats, they're not important. But it just goes to show you how badly they are failing, that they are losing all those council seats. Oh, Larry the Cat, good morning to you. The Reform Party have got the band back together. Probably. All right, let's mosey on. But yes, good morning to everyone joining us today. Like I say, please do remember to click on the like button and, of course, the share button as well. And, of course, if you are new to the channel as well, Please don't mind to click on the subscribe button down below. Links to help out the channel. Buy me a coffee link. The YouTube thank you button. You can, of course, drop a super chat. And, of course, you can join the Pony Club as well. There we go. Managed to do all that without falling down. Oh. But it's honestly, I think, where do we go from here next? And I think the biggest test, as we've been talking about, is the budget. You know, if the budget gets seen as a vote of confidence in Sunak, things could go from, like, you know, 1 to 10 very, very quickly. And to be honest, I don't think it's a vote of confidence Rishi Sunak could win. I really don't think so. I think, to be honest, enough Tories are that outraged about it. But, of course, the question becomes, who do you replace Rishi Sunak with? Is there a unity candidate? I don't think there really is. So either they... So we're going to end up, I think, with a really, really toxic leadership contest if that happens. And oh boy, I am there for that. I am there. Because if the others if the other Tory leadership contest to go by, they are going to be brutal. They are going to be absolutely brutal. And I'll tell you now, the British public is not going to stand by and allow whoever takes over, I think at that point, to continue. So whoever does take over is going to have to call a general election. And I'll tell you this now, they're probably going to lose that general election, because it doesn't matter who takes over. They're all going to be seen as complete and absolute utter failures. And then I loved the article we went over this week as well about the theory of the band of Boudicca's, or the band of Boudiccas, where Priti Patel, Suella Braverman and Kimi Badenoch have to put all their personal beef aside to unite and form some sort of triumvirate. The chance of that happening is slim to none, because I will tell you now, each one of those three is just as ambitious as the other, and there is not a chance that those three would ever work together in a million years. And not only that, it's not like they are, how shall we say, shown themselves to be competent. Like I say, Priti Patel, seen in the party as an absolute failure. So bad she was dispatched to the backbenchers, never to return. Suella Braverman, being seen as exactly the same way, made the UK an absolute international laughingstock, where she went to the UN and said, hey guys, can you do my job for me? Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. And then finally you've got Kimi Badenoch, someone else who is not wowing in her position. She's not wowing anyone. Not only that, but whenever she's been put under any type of pressure or questioning, she is cracked under that pressure. And there is no way that she would be able to survive, or at least come across, you know, in a prime ministerly fashion, because that counts for a lot in any way, shape or form. So the idea of that happening is, to be honest, a completely non-starter. And like I say, I doubt all three of those would work together, like, you know, Tony Blair and Gordon Brown did. It's very, very unlikely, to be honest. And of course, speaking of the UN, we are hearing today that the IEA, or at least Saudi Arabia, might be calling for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council to try and call for a ceasefire. Whether that will succeed or not, of course, is going to be a question, because it's highly likely that the UN, well, or at least the US, will probably veto it. But we'll see what happens there, because I think Israel is kind of shocked that all the eyes of the world are upon them and they can't essentially do what they want to do, which is, you know, just run wild through the Gaza Strip, which, to be honest, is a good thing, that the eyes of the world are watching them on this. But as always, you know, calling for a ceasefire is one thing, but then you actually have to have a plan to what happens next. And what happens next should be certainly calls for negotiation, and I think, to be honest, a revival of the Oslo Accords. That was the last time we came as close to peace as before. But I think that's what should happen. And that's how it should be laid out. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But to be honest, if there is an emergency meeting today at the UN about this, I doubt it's going to pass. I very, very much doubt that it is going to pass. Which, to be honest, is very sad, to be honest. Because you're never going to get a realistic peace in there until you can get both these sides to sit down together and talk. And as I've said before, in and around this, the biggest problem to peace in the Middle East is the right-wing Israeli government and, of course, Hamas. Those two are always the biggest obstacles. And until both of those can be overcome, the chances of permanent peace are at least a long way away. A long way away. But yeah, like I say, at least we can be happy for at least the time being that I think you have the Secretary General for the UN has called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire and unconditional release of the hostages. I think that's a starting point, at least. But there needs to be planning further about how now do we go to create a permanent, lasting peace in that region. And I'm not gonna lie, it's hard, and I don't have the answers for that. You know, my answer would be, well, we need to go back to the Oslo Accords. Those were obviously signed and were actually sort of the last really successful negotiated agreement between the two. So it certainly does seem that might be a possible way forward. But as I said, I don't know. This is one of those things where it's highly complex, really complicated. And as I said, I'm not going to pretend that I have the answers for everything on this regard, because I don't. But hopefully we will see some peaceful resolution to this situation, because if not, and the IDF do just go in and, well, run wild, I basically think you're guaranteeing to create tomorrow's terrorists. It's a circle of violence that honestly needs to stop and needs to be brought to an end. And until you can do that, or how you do that, of course, even I do not claim to have the answers to that. But the way you do it is you've got to get both these sides to sit down and really start talking to each other. And I think until you can really achieve that, I think everything else will be just baby steps up until that. But I don't see the situation, to be honest, being resolved anytime soon. Oop. Oh, here we go. Let's cross this. I'm quite surprised this isn't more higher. Where can we cross that isn't sinking into the mud? Nearly. Nearly. There we go. I think those are 3 Labrador puppies up there. Oh, if they are. Oh. But yes, I think tough situation. Probably not going to be resolved anytime soon. But we'll see what happens. Difficult situation. If there was a solution, I think people would have followed it by now. But it is a complex situation, unfortunately. But it also just goes to show you the failure of one of the big Brexit goals, of course. The idea that we would be this global Britain, that we would be striding the world stage, and that we would have this massive influence upon the world. No, not in the least. If anything, this entire Gaza crisis at the moment, it goes to show you the power that united countries have in calling for a solution. So the fact that you've got a lot of the surrounding countries around Israel getting together and saying there needs to be an immediate ceasefire, we need to progress into negotiations for a lasting peace, shows how good, if anything, collective calls by countries really are, because Israel ain't going to listen to any other country bar America in this regard. As I've said, Rishi Sunak going over there, James Cleverly going over there, what for? At least when Emmanuel Macron went over there, he went over there also with EU diplomatic credentials as well, with calls from the EU. And like I say, Israel was far more likely going to be listening to them, and France in particular, as you know, one of its key export partners as well. It was going to listen to them. Has it listened to Rishi Sunak or James Cleverly? No. So this once again is a perfect failure of really global Britain once again. And we'll see what happens in the future, but as we've always said, there's nothing wrong with the UK being like a mid-level European power. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's what a lot of conservative politicians still can't grasp around that fact when it comes to it. But as they say, ever onwards, march is time, march is progress. And of course, ever on do we walk now towards the end of our good morning walk. Yeah, if they can get peace in Northern Ireland, there's hope for a situation in Palestine. Exactly, Cathlo G, there is. And it just means that, you know, you need to sit down and talk to each other. Because that's how peace in Northern Ireland was created, by sitting down, talking and negotiating. I also want to remind people that there were bombs going off and violence happening there, and both sides were able to condemn that violence while continuing to be able to negotiate for peaceful solutions. So it can be done. Oh, and to be fair, finally Corbyn has condemned Hamas after all this time. I'll continue saying it again. Corbyn was really not good at foreign policy. He was really bad when it came to foreign policy. It was his biggest weakness. He time and time again fell for tons and tons of traps when he could have just, you know, said what needs to be said and got on with it, and then talked about domestic policy where he was good. And of course, as I always say, Corbyn was really not a good leader. He really was not, despite what other people will say about him otherwise. But of course, as always, here we are at the end of the Good Morning Walk, as always. So, as always, thank you very much for joining me this morning on today's Good Morning Walk, or today's Good Morning Sunday Walk, shall I say. We'll see you, of course, next Saturday. Hopefully, well, I doubt it, to be honest. Hopefully the field will be at least slightly a bit drier. But given those clouds in the background, I doubt that's going to happen. But of course, if it is raining, which, to be honest, it's the UK, it was very likely to rain. If so, then of course we will have an indoor Good Morning Walk. And of course, yes, as Cathlo G points out, happy Halloween to everyone. Hope you have a very spooky time, or a very spooky weekend if you've had your Halloween parties this weekend. Hope you've enjoyed yourself. But of course, as always, be safe, be sensible, or if well, let's see, if you can't be safe, at least be sensible. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time for another Good Morning Walk.